going right here and let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, 14, 15, 6. Everybody's here, Dr. Revis.
All right.
We're going.
Welcome, guys, to week 8, and you are now over the hump. You're a little over halfway through, and you've got the app still behind you. And I went in right before class and reviewed the clinical logs that needed some revisions. So I think, with the exception of 2 people, you're all cleared with your mid-semester clinical logs, which is good. I've noticed that some of you started submitting competencies artifacts. I have not looked at any of those yet, but I will start probably tomorrow. It takes a while to go in and do those, so I like to spread them out, but I will start tomorrow. If you're one of the ones that have started submitting, I will get you feedback starting tomorrow. But congratulations on getting where you are, a little over halfway through, and I will turn it over to Dr. Stedman.
Thank you, Dr. Revis. And you're dealing with 2 people that half the time we can talk, half the time we can't talk, half the time we can breathe, half the time we can't breathe. So, bear with us tonight. We're gonna trudge through this. And some of you've been in the same situation, so you know what we're talking about, or maybe still in the same situation. I want to say, still just a couple of minor issues we're working with getting the AAPTEL cleared with a couple of people, and can't figure out what something's going on, but we'll figure it out. But anyway, for the most part, everybody's cleared. I will have to say a job well done. Um, if you looked at it on a grading scale, based on what has been graded, everybody would have gotten an A. So that is that's commendable. Some of you need to think about where you were at the beginning and where you were at the end of this process, and you know yourself how much you have grown through the process. Now, this is what I want you to do. Some of the evaluators will give comments, some of them don't. We can't make them. That is not our job. Is it, Dr. Revis? We can't make them. However, I wish all of them would, because not only does it help you, but it helps us, because if they're seeing something, if they're not seeing something that we think that they're saying, we don't know what that is, so we have to kind of guess at it ourselves. So we go back and we try to figure it out. But this is what I want you to do. If you got a 3.60, which is a good score, that meant that out of the 5 evidences, out of the 5 tests that were graded, 2 of them got a 3 and 3 of them got a 4. That's how they came up with a 3.60. I need you to go back and I need you to look at it, and you need to go back and look at that rubric design and say, now, what is it could I have done differently? What they saw was, they saw good work, but they said, well, it's just proficient. There was no wow there. So you've got to figure out what it is that did not wow them when they looked at that, and you don't want to make that same error when I say error, not an error. You want to improve on that when you are doing the AAPTEL, and you want to make sure that you take it up that next level if that's what you need to do. So go in and figure it out, and and just say, I'm going to make sure that it's what I think they think it wants to be, in the end. However, I'm pleased with all of the scores that have come in, and thank you so much for the hard work. Pretty much the AAPTEL's behind us now. We began with the student in mind. We're moving now to evidence 2, and we're going to be dealing with the teacher. Now, most of you, or many of you, are teachers. I want you to think of your role as a teacher but you've got to look at the teacher from an administrator's perspective. Now, being a teacher and listening to what Dr. Revis and I are going to be talking to you about, you should be able to connect the dots with what we're asking you to do, being a practitioner. And even if you're in a coaching role or whatever, you still know about the role of a teacher, and most of you have been in that position anyway. So we're going to look at the AAPTEL is actually an analysis, an action plan of teacher empowerment and leadership. That's what it stands for. What are we actually going to be doing? We're going to look at the teacher as a leader inside the classroom, and we're going to look at the teacher as a leader outside the classroom. So the AAPTEL has a dual purpose, looking at teacher leadership, what they do in the classroom, and when they're in the classroom, who are they working with? Anybody?
Students.
Students, okay. So you're looking at them as a leader of students in the classroom. Then when you say empowering them as teacher leaders outside the classroom, anybody, what do you think that, just no wrong answers, what do you think that might be?
School leadership.
What kind of leadership? Tell me at this point, because you're looking at teachers, you're not looking at student grades and stuff like that. You're looking at teachers. So what kind of leadership outside the classroom do you think it is involving?
Helping teachers grow.
Okay, help teachers grow. That's right, Nicole. Actually, you're going to be looking at teachers, their involvement in the school operation. And are they involved? You'll find out, you'll start ask these questions. Are the teachers at my school involved in I'm going to use a big one that's usually a no, the school budget? Do you even know about the school budget? And that's going to be a big thing in 603. You're going to say, are teachers involved in decision making? Are teachers involved in the hiring process of teachers? Are teachers involved in, and then we could go on and enumerate other things, and we'll talk about that more specifically as we are going into the prompts for the information for task 1 that we'll be dealing with. So that is going to be our focus tonight. What we're talking about tonight, that no assignment for me is due this week. However, I don't want you to wait and get started on it next week. I want you to go ahead and do as much as you can this week and get ahead of the game, remembering that we'll come online next week, and then the next week you do your work, but it's actually spring break for the college and we won't be coming online. So this is going to give you a great opportunity over the next 3 weeks, because we're going to empower you tonight with task 1. Then we're going to tell you next week how task 1 ties directly into task 2, what you need to do. And then you're going to have time to do it. And when we come back after week 10, then honestly, you will have half of the AAPTEL already over with. Because there's only 4 tasks to it. So you'll have half of it over with.
And Dr. Stebbin, if I could just chime in,
Uh-huh.
your task 1 is a lot of research and writing. And so you can do that on your own. You don't need to bring together a PLC for task 1.
No, you will for task 2, but for task 1, I don't, unless you just want to, you don't have to involve your PLC with task 1. So with that, let me share my screen. And then I want to remind you of, well, let me just go ahead and do this. Um, well, Dr. Revis, I'm going to pull this up because I found this, and this is something that you had done the AAPTEL at a glance. So, go ahead and talk about this, Dr. Revis, very quickly, because this gives them just a quick overview of what they're going to be doing.
Well, I always like to give the big overview first, and a lot of people don't like that, but I like for you to know where you're going. So in task one, you're doing research and you're identifying that checklist and that survey that Dr. Lamb talked about extensively last night. In task two, you're collecting that data via your checklist, which would be classroom visits, and you're completing the survey. And in task three, well, and you're analyzing the data. You're analyzing your data here. You're collecting and analyzing your data. Task three, you're developing that plan of action for the teacher empowerment and growth plan. And in task four, you do your competency reflection. So, this whole evidence work, it is going to be shorter than what you did in the APSL. And you're going to really feel comfortable with it. Even though our focus is different, the process and much of the work, particularly when you get to task three in that action plan, it's very much duplicated.
It is. It is. So, the elephant's a smaller elephant this time, but he's just important, just as important. Remember let me go here first. Let me go to, okay, this is Blackboard for you. Okay, just remember that you're through with everything through here. You're starting down here now. So this is where you find your AAPTEL task and prompts, and that's going to give you everything that you need that I'm going to be using this evening. That's your template. That's going to be your helpful hints document. There is not an AAPTEL completed example. You can refer back to the APSL, but that's the only time you're going to get a completed example is with the APSL, but you follow the same process. Look at this. That's your task and prompts. That tells you, what it's all about. And this tells you basically, what it takes to get a 4 or to be proficient and to move towards a 4. That tells you. So you need to look at that and check it out. This is where you will put, when you put them for review, for peer and instructor review, this is where you place them. The same process again, the AAPTEL assignment Dropbox, when I tell you to submit to the Dropbox for a final grade, this is where you submit it. Don't mess with this until the end. That's your Turnitin check for that. Now, when you go back, when you do your peer reviews, you go back to the same place, and you would do the peer reviews the very same way, and it will give you AAPTEL task 1, where you put 2 in there, et cetera, and you'll follow the same process with that. When you get to your case study, you'll go to the same case study section, and it'll be case study 2. We'll talk about that, but everything is there for you. The process has not changed. What we required of you as it relates to APA, it stays the same. Don't backslide on us. We got you saved. I want you to stay saved, okay? Don't you backslide on us. Don't act like you forgot what you're supposed to do. It happens, doesn't it, Dr. Revis? It honestly, please fool us. Please don't be one of those that forgets everything that you learned with the APSL, okay? Those requirements have not changed. I want you to look at under week 8. There's some information in there that you can refer back to. These are some PowerPoints, et cetera, that will help you. And then when you go to the template and materials section, let me click on that for just a minute. I want you to look at this. I'm going to refer to several several things. This is important. You see all these documents down at the bottom. There's information that you can use that will help you. Did I do the apps or the? I'm sorry, I hit the apps. So the AAPTEL template and materials section. Here it is. This is what I want you to see. This is where you find everything that you need. Even that PowerPoint that I just showed you, that Dr. Revis went over. This is information that you're going to need. Marzano's high-yield strategies, competencies, Marzano's 9 high-yield instructional strategies by somebody else. Look down here. You'll have to talk about what is a needs assessment. When you do your research, there's actually some information in here that you can refer to. So go in here and look at what we've provided for you, and use whatever is applicable to you. Okay. The template is the same. The only difference is evidence 2, the AAPTEL, and your name here is the same thing. So that has not changed. Remember, what is in black stays. If it's in yellow, that means that you've got to do narrative work. And if it's in red, those are suggestions and hints of things that you can use. Once you use it, you take all the yellow out and you take all the red out. You only leave what's in black. The school profile that you used in evidence 1 is the same profile, unless you've moved to a new school that you use throughout. You'll use that in evidence 2. So all you've got to do is copy and paste that when it comes time to submit your evidence 2. Now I want you to look at the AAPTEL helpful hints document. There are 2 prompts to the AAPTEL Task 1. This is what you're going to do. You're going, again, just like you started out with the AAPTEL, you're going to do a literature review. If I can get that thing to stop. You're going to do a literature review. There's going to be 5 identified sections. The first one being, and you've already talked about efficacy a little bit with the AAPTEL, but you're going to take it into a different focus on it, and you're going to go into more detail with it here. But your first heading is going to be building efficacy and empowerment among staff. You're going to look at teacher efficacy and how you build empowerment among your teachers. What does the research say? Again, I'm looking at Nicole. I don't want to know what Nicole thinks about it. I don't want to know what Michelle thinks about it or Dr. Revis. I want to know, what does the research say? Remember, the seminal researcher was Albert Bandura with efficacy. I probably would use him again in this, wouldn't you, Dr. Revis? I would refer to him again because that's your seminal research. And then there are other great researchers that you will use there. And we've actually given you an example of how to get started with that. And notice how again, a focus is always going to be on student learning, student achievement, and student learning. So they're actually tying in student learning to teacher efficacy and empowerment, how it relates. Okay.
Another author here also, Dr. Stedman, is Todd Whitaker. He does a lot on empowerment.
Yes, that's right. Todd Whitaker. So I went Hattie. She's used Hattie. You've seen Hattie a lot in your work. So Hattie is another one that you would possibly want to consider. Gibson and Dimbo are great. And I will tell you, many years ago, when I did my dissertation was on teacher efficacy and the impact it had on middle school teachers in the county that I work in. And actually, I spoke with with Gibson, and I used her survey. She lived in California, and she gave me permission to use her survey during my study. So that's my claim to fame with researchers. So, but anyway, those are some good examples of what you can do. Make it very professional. This is a good example that we've got here. Dr. Revis,
And you need to have it. You need to have at least 3 resources.
At least a minimum of 3, but you can, to make it good, you can have more than 3 if it makes it a better narrative for you. Put more than 3 in there. Don't limit yourself if you need to put 1 or 2 more. Okay. Dr. Revis, the next one is results-oriented professional development, and that is your area of expertise.
Well, I don't know if it's that, but thank you. Okay, so for professional development, evaluators are going to want to see Darling Hammond. It's Linda Darling Hammond. Of course, you'll just use her last name in your writing, and she's considered to be the seminal researcher with professional development. There are others. I don't know who this author has used, but you see right out of the gate, they've used Darling Hammond up there in the second sentence. And of course, I know that's multiple authors there because they've used that et al. So you would want to write, somebody's going to ask, well, how long does each section need to be? Well, if you're doing 3 researchers, I would think at least it's 3 paragraphs, but it may be more. But you thoroughly cover the topic. What does the research say about results-oriented professional development? Okay.
And all of this, remember, is empowering teachers, and the end result is improving student achievement. The next heading is, the third of the 5 headings is recruitment, placement, and mentoring of school staff. Again, what does the research say about recruiting highly qualified teachers? What does the research say about placing them in the right place? You've got, and I can remember the day, Dr. Revis, and it probably still happens, but not as much, when, so-and-so has lived here all their life. It's the mayor's wife, and, this and that and the other. And so she got all the, quote, best kids. But guess what? She may have taught 30 years, but she only taught one time 30 years because she never changed. So would that be your best teacher to place? That would be a challenge to place students in the room. That also would be a challenge for you to work with that teacher to make them a better teacher, as you're looking at teacher leadership and empowerment. But anyway, you're looking at, what does the research say about recruitment? What does it say about placement? And then what does it say about mentoring them? They may come to you as because they don't have experience. They may come to you as a B teacher. And I say a B teacher. How can you take that B teacher and make an A teacher out of? What do you as a principal need to do? Remember, I told you at the very beginning that your role as a principal, as a leader of the school, is not to teach students. Your role is to teach and train teachers. You're a teacher of teachers. And teachers teach students. And if you, as the administrator, teach the teachers, equip the teachers, put them where they need to be, have them doing what they need to do, then guess what? It's going to impact student achievement. If what you do as a leader goes back to number 1, if you help improve the efficacy of those teachers, if they feel good about themselves, if they feel good about what they're doing, if they feel empowered, think of yourselves. Don't you think that directly impacts the students that they work with? So your job is to make them good at what they do, better at what they do, so that it has a direct impact on the students that we serve. Dr. Evans, I don't remember. Now they've used a quote from one of your textbooks here, Ubben and all. So, you know, you might want to look at that and go back and refresh yourself with that and see if it's something that applies to what you would want to do. We do look to see in the research if you are using any of the books that you're required to read this semester. And then there are others. Dr. Revis, number 4.
Okay, so this one's about approaches to and for evaluation of school staff. Now, what we do not want is a summary of the North Carolina teacher evaluation system or the South Carolina teacher evaluation system. What we want to know is what the research says is a good approach, a solid approach, an effective approach for teacher evaluation. Your seminal researcher here is Marzano. I know North Carolina teacher evaluation system is based on his work. I think South Carolina's is too. So Marzano needs to be one of your researchers here. Your evaluators will look for that. And you discuss different approaches to evaluation. And somewhere in here, you're probably going to look at walkthroughs. Somewhere in here, you would discuss the importance of feedback. We all know as teachers how important that feedback, that formative feedback is to students. Well, it is just as important for teachers to get that formative feedback, like you've been practicing in your peer reviews. So some of the hardest teachers, I think, to give feedback for are those highly effective teachers. It's hard to determine just what a teacher can do or where a teacher should focus in order to take it to the next level. And when I have always observed those types of teachers, I've tried to engage them in the conversation about asking them to take charge. Where do you want to go next? Where do you see yourself as far as an area for growth? It's not really, some of your beginning teachers, you're going to have a litany of things that you could tell them to work on. But we're talking here about that formative, specific feedback. So be sure you have Marzano as one of your 3 in this section.
Okay. And then the 5th one is teacher leadership and decision making. Again, this is going to be, again, what does the research say? And what are the best practices out there based on the research about effective teacher leadership and effective teacher decision making in the process of overall school improvement? What does the research say? And again, you see Whitaker's name involved in that as well. Whitaker's in there twice with this one. And there's a lot of research out there about that. But I think you've got the point. Again, you're looking at the teacher. You're thinking the whole time with the research, what does it take to grow a better teacher, to improve their pedagogy, what they do, to take so that they're not stagnant, taking this teacher, and it may be a good teacher. How can we go from good to better and from better to best? That process. What does it take? And again, the research will clearly provide you that information. I'm looking for some good, solid research in that. And again, that's a minimum of 15 references that you're going to have for that first activity. a minimum of 15 and possibly more. And again, the seminal researchers, again, I go back to Bandura, Todd Whitaker, Linda Darling Hammond, and Robert Marzano, etc. Are there any questions? Again, don't forget about your APA. Make sure that you go back and you check yourself carefully on that. Are there any questions about what is required of prompt 1 of task 1? Any questions? I think you got that. And the next thing is you're not going to do anything with this. All you're going to do next in prompt 2 is you're going to create a checklist and you're going to create a survey. Now, if you listen to us, life will be easy for you. We're not asking you to reinvent the wheel. I'm going to stop sharing for just a minute. I want to see a show of hands. How many of you know that you already have a walkthrough instrument at your school that your school uses? One, raise your hand. Okay, I see Becca, Robin, Shaquita, Nicole, Sparkle, Anna, Macy, Mandy, Melissa, Kristen, Terrence, Leanne, Alicia. Brenda, you have one? Okay, anyway. Okay, talk to me, the ones that don't. What do you use? Who didn't raise? Keisha, you didn't raise your hand. What do y'all use at your school? What do you do? What is your do they do anything when they go around and visit the classrooms, the administration?
They only use what is it called? Nieces. That's it.
Nieces.
So is that the same thing? Yeah, they just do nieces.
Okay,
The formal observation.
Yeah, the formal observation. And what you could do, but they don't, but do they do like 10-minute walkthroughs? And I know they do the formal walkthroughs, but they do they ever do like a 10-minute walkthrough and just monitor for just a few minutes?
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Like
But
this,
but you don't get
this
feedback
year.
from it.
No, last year they did, but this year they haven't done.
Okay. Who else
This is
was
my
it that,
second year there.
okay, who else was it that didn't have one? Michelle?
I don't.
You don't?
Well, there is one, but I asked about it today. There is one, but it has nothing to do with like Marzano or any of that. They said we've gone away from that.
Okay, but if they don't have, but they use one, do they use it?
It has to do with our ELA instruction only,
Okay.
what they're using.
Okay, well then that's important because you will create one. Now, whether they use it after you present it, that's left up to them, but you're going to present them with one that they need to be using, and they do need to be using one. That's all I'm going to say. Anybody else? Brenda, do you have a walkthrough instrument that they use at your school?
You say, do I have a walkthrough? What now?
Did they use a walkthrough instrument at your school to do just walkthrough observations? I can't hear you. Okay. Okay, no, it's okay. It's okay. That we've got it. I've got my I've got what I need from that. But what you've got to do is your job is going to be your task with, if you've already got a walkthrough instrument and they're using it, then that's what you're going to put in to task 2, and you're going to narratively talk about, that this was adopted by your school system. It's used by blah blah blah, and talk about it, and then you're going to show it. Okay, you're going to put it in there. If you don't have one, then you're going to present them with one, based on what we're going to share with you. Okay, we're going to do that. And then the survey, you're going to do a survey, and everybody's going to do the same survey. Dr. Lamb has already told you about the survey. He has to approve it, and it's simply, he wants you to put it in there simply because this is an opportunity for you to learn how to do quadrics. So you're going to do two things in prompt 2. You're going to do a checklist, and you're going to do a survey. The checklist being your walkthrough. Just go ahead and let's look at the survey first. These are the 5 questions. And again, Dr. Revis, I think he said that it's okay for them to use this information right here, did he not? Okay, so you can use this information.
Yes, in fact, he told you to use it. Okay.
This validates everything right here. You know, I don't care if you copy it word for word. It said just don't put South End Elementary School there. Okay. Then it's going to be a figure. Use this same information right here. The only thing that is wrong, there's one thing wrong on this. Can anybody, I don't know if he said anything about it or not, but look right here. What is wrong with your responses? What should come first? No. You always put no in the first column and yes in the second column for quadrics purposes. So don't model with this. The one here, I was going to change it and forgot to. But anyway, this gives me an opportunity to talk about it. This is not correct. No is in the first column. Yes is in the second column. You do your quadrics. You put the same 5 prompts in there, and this is the survey that you will use. Don't recreate the wheel. Use it. Leanne?
I created my survey last night like he told us to, but mine had me publish, not send it to him. It actually published.
You need to communicate with him because you can't do anything unless he gives you the okay to use it.
Okay.
So just communicate with him. I have no idea. Do you, Dr. Revis? I can't answer that one. But again, follow the format for figures. And again, you can use it just like it is. Now the difference, there will be some differences with and that's other information that you would use if you were creating your own. Now, the checklist. The checklist is the same thing as the walkthrough. If you've got a walkthrough instrument, then you use the one at your school. If you don't have one, then we're going to show you what to use. Okay? Have to talk about why it is a validated and reliable instrument that you're using. And if you use the one that we've got here, then it's Marzano's 9. I mean, that you talk about that, and that's all you've got to do. That makes it valid and reliable. What makes yours valid and reliable at your school is because it has been approved by your school district to use, and you have to say that. Now, if it's the South Carolina instrument and it's that whole LEI and that, I mean, not that whole, I don't want to see 15 pages of an evaluation. You need to pull from that a portion of it that would be used for a walkthrough purpose, and I would base what I pulled on Marzano's 9, or you run into difficulty and you say, I just don't think mine is what we're using is the best in the world, then use what we got here. Okay? If all else fails, use this one and you can't go wrong. This is based on Marzano's 9. It's already there for you. And this is what you would actually use when you do your walkthroughs that you're going to be required to do when we talk about task 2 next week. But all you're doing is getting the instrument in there and the survey in there for us to say, yes, you can do this when you get to tasks 2, but not yet. All we want to do is see the survey and the checklist at this point. These are Marzano's 9. And again, no in the first column, yes in the second column. Okay? Switch that around. But again, you're going to put your reference section in there. You're going to put your appendices in there as you've done before. And that's it for task 1. Your research, your instrument, and your survey. Now, it's not due this week. Now, you've got to finish Dr. Revis's work, but most of you should just about be through with that. You should not be at the midnight hour doing that. This is an opportunity for you to get ahead of the game, isn't it, Dr. Revis?
It really is, guys.
And I want you to take your time. I want you to make sure that when you submit it to me for review, it's not due till next week, but if you get through with it, then, you can go ahead and submit it to me and you can, but make sure it's what you want me to see. Don't give me a bunch of mess. And do not mess up with APA. We'll say that again. Don't make me mad, okay? I'll have to boil me some wet noodles and go find you and beat you if you make me mad about APA. But
Dr. Stedman, do you mind
Yeah.
scrolling back a little bit? I want to point out something in the helpful hints back up where we're looking at the survey.
Okay.
Guys, in the helpful hints right here, I think.
Sorry.
No, on back, just a little bit more. In the helpful hints, it says that you can pull questions from the teacher working conditions survey or from your Cognia or South Carolina Elliott. Don't do that. Use the survey questions that are Whitaker's, because if you don't, you run the risk of not collecting the data points that you need in order to continue with this evidence work. So just make it simple. Use the survey that we provided. Use your walkthrough checklist if you have one. If you don't, use Marzano's.
And even if you have one, if you decide you want to use Marzano's, I'm okay with that. Okay? Are there any questions about prompt 2? Do you know what you've got to do? Now, when you submit that survey to me, I want a professional looking survey. I want one that looks like I ordered it from a professional company. I want it formatted. I wanted a professional look. Don't send me something that looks like a junior high school student did it. And I want the walkthrough formatted, framed, everything to be, I want it to look and give me that professional look on it. And again, I'm going to remind you, all of your work, what kind of spacing do we have throughout your document? Brenda, what kind of spacing? Double spaced. I could read your
Double
list.
spacing.
Yeah, double spacing throughout. Do not forget that.
Brenda asked, put a comment to me. Her school actually uses a walkthrough that's on a Google Doc. That's fine if you want to use that, but she's going to have to retype that Google Doc so that it fits into your narrative work.
Right.
Unless you just copy and paste it.
Or if you can download it and you have the ability to turn it into a Word document,
yeah,
then, that's above my pay grade. I can't do all that stuff like y'all can. But, if you can make it work, then, you can do that, Are there any questions about task 1 of the AAPTEL? Does everybody know what you've got to do? You feel good about it? Now think about when you started the AAPTEL. Don't you feel so much better starting this evidence? I know you do. You feel empowered, don't you? You should feel empowered. Okay. And you know I'm a sticker. I want my work on time. So if anybody turns this work in late to me after me going over it 2 weeks early, you are in trouble. Keisha, do you have a question?
I do. And this may sound like I'm like discombobulated, but because my school don't have like a walkthrough, what is it that I have to do? I have to present a walkthrough to. I just want to make sure I get this
Not yet.
right.
You're not at that place. You just create one right now. You're not going to
Create a walkthrough.
a walkthrough and
Create.
create the walkthrough and use the one that we've provided for you. Let me go back here again.
It's called Marzano's high nine yield strategies.
Here it is.
This one.
Use the same one.
Use it. Okay.
Use this
Right.
use this same one since you don't have one, and then you're going to present this to administration when you do your action plan. You've got to get approval to do some walkthroughs anyway, and we're going to ask that when we get to that point, we're going to ask you to have administration, if they will, to walk with you. You'll do 2 or 3 to walk with you. If they can't, then we're going to ask for a coach to walk with you. We just don't want you to be by yourself when you go through. We'll talk about that next week, though, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
You are welcome. Dr. Revis, I think they've got it. I'm going to let you remind them of what they owe you this week.
Okay, before that, Michelle, did you have a question?
Yeah, go ahead. It's not for the good of the group. I want to ask you guys personally.
Okay. All right. So you know that by Sunday evening at 6, you need to have your 12 artifacts in your competency folio, and that you will put them in there, and then you request comments. You go through and click and request comments to me. I know the video says to the opposite professor, but usually I'm teaching a class and I have my own set of students, but I don't this semester. So you all are going to select me to request comments. Okay. And I will get in there and I will give you feedback. I will be tough on you this first time through because you've got to get it correct. You've got to understand, number one, that the artifact aligns with the description. You know, make sure that what you're telling me you've uploaded is really what you uploaded, and make sure you are uploading the correct document from the correct evidence. The only thing you've got right now you can upload from is the AAPTEL or from your clinical work. Make sure you read on there. Everybody remember that. We've been over it about twice now. Then when you get in there, you've got to determine which one you're going to use, an artifact from your AAPTEL or your clinical. It's got to be one of the two.
Okay. You have any questions of Dr. Revis about what you owe for her? Everybody
Can you
good?
hear me?
Who was that?
Did y'all hear me?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Will we be able to correct it or if we get something wrong?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Like you do,
I will
you
send
make
you a
the notes?
comment. Yes, I'll send you a comment. If it's great, I will say met 1 of 3 spring 2024. The 1 of 3 means you have to have 3 by the end of your 3rd semester. So if you met it, that's all I'm going to say. I don't email you. You've got to look in your folio. If you need to correct something, I will put it there in the comments for you, what you need to do to make it correct and resubmit, or sometimes it's the description that needs revising. But, just be careful when you're doing it. Make sure you've got the correct artifact to the correct description and to the correct competency.
How many of you are you're in a coaching position at your school, like an instructional coach? I see several of you. Yeah. Those of you that work, and teachers, you may as well, but those of you especially that are working with school improvement endeavors, have you begun to see how all of this ties into the overall school improvement process? I mean, it is hand in glove with what you do. And do you see how, honestly, when you get through with this program and you begin interviewing for your first assistant principalship, you are going to be leaps and bounds ahead of other candidates that have not had this experience. This truly will equip and empower you as you move forward. You've already got a solid foundation with the work you've completed with the AAPTEL. And after you get through with this, there is absolutely no reason why any of you should have any problems moving on for the rest of this program. Okay? Are there any questions at this point? Now, we will not be coming on Thursday. We're through. We're beyond that now. Use your time wisely. We'll be back together next Tuesday. Dr. Revis, I'll let you know just in case. I will be in, where will I be? I will be in New Orleans next week. So I will be an hour, like I was when I was in Texas. I'll be an hour. It'll be 6 o'clock for me there, and it'll be 7 o'clock with you. So but I'll be in my room for class during that time. Elisa?
I have a question about the checklist.
Okay.
You know, they have that scripted curriculum in Robinson County. And so we use 2 different checklists, one for reading and one for math, and it's based off of the curriculum.
Put them both in there.
So put both of them in
Put
there.
them both in there and talk about that. Just talk about it. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Any other questions? Guys, I'm letting you go, and it's not even been an hour. Can you believe that? I'm giving you 4 minutes. I'm giving you 4 minutes. Okay, we'll see everybody. Melissa, stay online, and then I think Michelle,
Still
you
have
have
a question. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want me to go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, this is kind of embarrassing, so everybody leave.
Bye.
All right.